All right. Annastencia Kambari, also known as Annah Kays, is a young lady that is 20 years of age. She's a book editor and an author residing in the Overstrand region in a township called Zwelihle in Hermanus. During the hard lockdown, while Anna was doing some editing work for others, she was spotted by advocate Trymore Chiguvare from Zimbabwe, who's currently based in Cape Town. The two then embarked on a journey of writing the 10-chapter book that we are discussing, called All Tears, No Answers. Anna is also currently studying online to become an English teacher so that she can later fulfill her dream of teaching English abroad. According to the back cover of the book, All Tears, I quote, All Tears, No Answers is a work of contemporary fiction with a setting in rural Zimbabwe. The story takes the protagonist through a series of challenges only known to the rising generation. The story is full of thrill and suspense, close quotes. And I agree with that because that's exactly what we got. I'm talking about Tony and myself when we were reading the book. Anna, Kunja, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm well. Let's just make sure that your mic is loud enough. Yes. Finding your way here, was it difficult?
Not really. It wasn't.
Okay. Did you have a good day today?
I had a long day today.
I'm sorry about that. These things happen. It's all part of work. We all signed up for it, eh?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so let's hope then we're not going to give you a hard time. I think pull the mic towards you, please. Yes. All right. Let's hope we are not going to give you a hard time, so that at least when you get home you can say, you know what? I had a long day, but those two guys, Tony and D, made my day. Let's start from the beginning. First of all, you're from Zimbabwe.
Yes, I'm from Zimbabwe.
Okay. Entered South Africa in 2010.
Yes.
All right. Together with your parents came earlier.
They came first and then I followed. So I was the only one left in Zim.
I see. And you've got 3 other siblings.
Yes, I have 3 brothers.
Wow. How do you feel? I mean, how does it work? Are you comfortable? You're the only girl and then there are brothers. Do they treat you well?
They do, but brothers, your brothers will be brothers.
You know what, Tony? It seems those brothers are not representing us as males very well. Yeah. We are sorry. On behalf of all the guys out there, all brothers out there, we are very sorry that, this is the image you've got of us. Yeah, there's so much to talk about. I'm excited, to be honest. I mean, sitting here across somebody who's very young, but has done so much. One thing that excites me is the fact that we deal with people who are into music most of the time. We have spoken to guys who are doing business and other areas, but we have not yet interviewed someone who's an author, and this is the first time. So this here is very special to us. I'm sure Tony agrees.
Yeah, Pam.
Yes. Your love of writing, where did it start? Where does it come from?
It started back in primary, from grade 5, I think. I would always have a book with me. I even got the nickname Bookworm from my class teacher back then, because wherever I was, I had a book. So I started from reading, and then I would start writing my own short stories. And then in high school, I actually wrote my first 2 books. I was in grade 8. I wrote my first 2 books, and only my classmates got to read them before I lost them, unfortunately.
Oh, so they were not published?
They were not published.
And there was no way that you could rewrite?
No, there was no way, because I forgot the storyline completely. So I just decided to give up on those 2.
Hey, man. Wow. I wish you had those books. I'm just curious to see how you were writing back then. I mean, now that you've got this experience in writing, when you look back, are you proud of the work you did back then?
Yes, I am.
So when you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10,
that's difficult.
Come on, I'm sure, listen, we are not going to say you've got a huge ego or anything. But if you feel like you were already at 10 at that time, that's cool. That's okay.
No, at that time, I would say I was at 5.
Okay.
And yeah.
All right. So while other kids are busy writing texts in other people's DMs, and some writing good, some writing work lyrics, and others writing poems, you at age 13, you're already writing books. That's very special.
Yeah, I was writing books instead.
And in terms of the thickness of those two books that you wrote, how many pages were they?
I would say they were about 200 pages per book.
200 already?
Yes, they were big.
Okay, and you used the normal A4?
Yes, the normal A4 books.
Hey man, that's exciting.
So between the two, were like any of the books maybe based on a true story, or?
Yes, they were based on true stories.
Oh, so both of them?
Yes, both of them.
Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, we did have a conversation earlier, and you mentioned that your classmates were more, interested in reading your books during class
yes,
than concentrating on what the teacher was teaching.
Yeah, we would pass the book around the class
during
class time, and the teacher would not notice, unfortunately. And yeah, it just went like that every single day. We knew this class was for reading that book.
Jeez, I was just about to ask if you didn't get into any trouble because of your books. Hey, in South Africa, in summer, we've got fruits like watermelons, grapes, pears, and I found out from reading your book that there are fruits that I didn't even know existed. I noted some names here, so I need to get ready. I'm trying to get my tongue ready so I can pronounce them properly. I hope I pronounced your names properly.
Well,
Annastencia kambarami.
Yes, kambarami.
Okay. The fruits. Masao?
Masao, yes. They are dates.
Oh, dates.
Dates.
Oh, they're the normal brown dates.
Normal brown dates.
Okay, I was wondering what is Masao. And then there's another one, but it starts with NZV. So how do you pronounce it? Nzivirumombe?
That one I don't know in English. That would be Mr. Trymore. He'll know what that one is called.
Okay, but how does it look?
I don't know. I've never tasted it.
Okay. And then there's Nengeni.
I also don't know that one.
You have not tasted that?
Yes.
Then I saw Amarula. I was like, the only Amarula I'm familiar with is the one that comes. It comes in the bottle.
In the bottle.
I have never had the Marula fruit, so I don't know how that tastes. Do you have Marula fruits in Zim?
We do.
I mean, in this season, during this season already?
Oh, no, not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
I was about to say, look, don't you have connections for someone to send some this way? But yeah.
We can always have some sent later on.
Oh, all right. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm glad this interview happened because, hey, where was I going to get Amarula?
Oh, yeah. So I also wanted to know about something, ne? Because us, like, as music guys, you see, like, we first, like, have to work on a beat. And then when the beat is proper now, we just have to find words, you see. It's not just any words. So you need to be picky with your words so that your song is going to stick. Yeah, bon? So you would write maybe like a few lines, you're coming nicely with this concept, and then it comes that point where your mind is just blank, you see. We call it like writer's block. So I'm sure in a book you face it like more than us, like the music guys. So I just want to know how you deal with writer's block.
Writer's block, I would say whenever I experience writer's block, I put the book down, I forget about the book, then I read other authors' books. That helps me to get inspiration and different ideas from other people's books.
Okay, so in terms of music, then one would stop what they're doing, just continue listening to more music to get inspiration.
Yes, and don't stress about whatever you're writing about, because the more you stress, the blanker your mind goes.
How long does this take? How long do you experience writer's block? Is it hours, weeks, months?
For other people, it's days, others weeks, others months. It depends on how much you're stressing about it.
Okay, for you, what's the longest period that you've ever experienced writer's block?
It was 2 months.
And during that 2 months, what was going through your mind? Didn't it feel long?
I felt like I can't write anymore. I was actually writing this book, All Chairs No Answers, and I thought, wow, okay, so I'm not going to be able to finish this book.
Yeah.
But then it just came back and carried on.
Okay. The idea of the cover, whose idea was it?
The idea was Mr. Trymore Chiguvare's idea.
Okay. And the cover, did you get this picture from a painting? Was it drawn?
Tafa Prints, the publishers, they had this made. I think they have an artist who drew it. Yes.
Okay. And Advocate Trymore Chiguvare, did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes.
He spotted you during the time you were busy editing someone's book.
Someone else's book, yes.
Please tell us more on that story.
So a friend of mine posted a poster of me advertising someone else's book that I had edited. And then he was surprised to find out that I'm actually an author as well, because we'd met at church, and then I was so young. He did not expect it at all. And then he approached me and he said, you know what? Let's write a book. At the time, we did not know what we were going to write about. So I said, okay, let's write a book. And then we brainstormed some ideas. It took some time. And then once we had a storyline, we decided to just go ahead and write it.
Yeah. Okay. For someone who's at home right now and thinking, all right, you speaking about writing books, it looks so easy. You're so comfortable when you speak about it. For somebody at home who would like to get into writing, what are the pointers? What are the advice? What's the advice that you can give? What are the tools that they have to have before they can attempt to write?
Well, I would say that in whatever language you're writing in, your grammar needs to be on point. And then you need to be creative. You need to be creative, highly creative. And then the best thing to do is to have a storyline, to know your storyline before you start writing, so that you know when to start, where to start, and then where to go from then.
So your grammar.
Your grammar is most
important. So in other words, the understanding of the language is important.
Yes.
Especially if you're going to use English. If you're using home language, it's also important that you...
It's also important because I've realized that writing in your home language can be quite difficult, because you don't really follow all the grammar rules when you're speaking in your mother tongue. I cannot write in Shona. I've tried and I failed.
Nice.
And I failed.
Okay. The reason being, you don't have enough understanding of Shona?
I think my grammar was just completely wrong.
And you found this when you met an editor?
No, Mr. Trymore told me directly that just stick to English. Yeah.
No, your Shona
sucks. It's not working. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. And all your life you've been thinking, listen, the Shona I'm speaking is proper.
It's perfect.
Oh, yeah.
I actually thought I knew Shona, then turns that I didn't.
Ish. Yeah, I'm thinking of my Sotho right now and thinking, hey, is the Sotho that I speak enough? You know? All right. So first of all, the understanding of the language. In terms of ideas, what should one do in order to get ideas? Where do you draw your ideas?
Well, I don't know. It just comes. So it depends. So first I have to decide on the genre that I'm writing. If it's comedy, then I'll look for some funny pieces or funny inspiration, something like that. If it's romance, then you obviously look for something that has got to do with that. So you focus on the genre and then you stick to it. That's how you get an idea.
And then how about the characters? How do you make sure that you have enough characters?
You need to make a character list and then know what each character is going to be doing in the story. You need to know the significance of each character in the story. So you need to picture your characters as well in your mind, how they speak, how they walk, how they talk, how they look, so that you can put that into words, so that when the reader reads your book, they have the exact image that you wanted them to have, and then they can also connect with the character emotionally. That's the whole point. Because if your characters are too fictional, then your reader does not connect with your book. And it becomes just boring.
Yeah. So if you were to do as you say, okay, you now have those characters that are not so convincing. In terms of the person you are, how would you take maybe negative reviews for your work?
Negative reviews.
Yeah.
I'll be very happy to get negative reviews because that means then I have a chance to improve myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever received any negative reviews from the work you've done so far?
Not
Whether it's from editing or writing?
Yes, I have. It was with the first chapter that I had to submit. It was not up to standard. Then I had to redo it, and then it was fine then.
Okay. Where do you find strength to handle negative reviews? I mean, many people are not able to do that. They're not able to handle anything negative around their work, whether it's music, whether it's art. There are people who are just not able to handle it. So what can one do in order to understand that this is how you need to go about it?
Well, firstly, you need to know that criticism is there to better you. So where people will be pointing fingers, just better it, and next time they won't.
Okay. Should you also be careful who is criticizing or critiquing your work?
Yes, you should be very careful because sometimes it might be just someone who knows nothing about what you're doing, nothing about your profession. Someone who has no idea what it takes to get to produce whatever you have produced, be it a song or a book. So you need to look at both sides. Some are people with actual experience. You need to listen to them, and then others, they know nothing. You just tell them, okay, thank you, and then you move on. Don't take it to heart.
I see. Because some musicians have come out to say there are times when they get criticized on social media, for instance, and they would go as far as checking the profile of the person doing that, and then they realize you're not worth my time. So yeah, now I understand. It makes a lot of sense. Right. One of the things I like about the book, as even though the story is fictional, like you said, one of the things I like about the book is the fact that when you read it, it doesn't feel like, I believe Tony will agree with me, or if he doesn't, he'll express himself. It doesn't feel like you are reading a fictional story. For instance, here I am, I found out about these fruits I didn't know existed. I also found another story that we South Africans relate to, which is the story of truck drivers and poor women, whether they come from poor villages or poor townships, whereby they end up offering themselves to truck drivers in exchange for money, and when they get home, they bring home some groceries. That way, it then somehow gets them a what's the word I'm looking for? It somehow gives them a free pass from parents, because then the parents don't get to shout, because here are the goodies, and you find out most of the items are items that such poor families are not used to. For instance, let's say fried chicken, Kentucky fried chicken. If you guys chocolates, these are things that you are not used to, and if it comes into the household, even though it comes in this manner, then as a parent, you give your daughter a free pass. Yeah,
you turn a blind eye.
Yes, turn a blind eye. That's what I wanted to say. Hey, English. My data bundles just went
depleted.
they got depleted right there. So, yes, I was commending you on the fact that the story is fictional, but the characters and the issues that are discussed here, these are things that we relate to. Someone may think, okay, she's an author from Zimbabwe, as the book says, the story happens in Zimbabwe. I'm a South African, maybe I won't connect to the book, but I realized as I was reading, because again, if you go further in the book, there is a very important issue which is happening right now.
Yes.
The most, it's on the cards right now, and that issue, for instance, there are political leaders who have lost votes in other countries, like America, by not addressing it a certain way. And the issue we are talking about is the issue of the LGBTQI plus community. And I also understand that in Zimbabwe, there are certain restrictions, or it is illegal in Zimbabwe to be, for instance, gay
Yes,
Is it still so?
it is very illegal.
Right. So are there any people that you know from Zim who are from that community who had to hide themselves from the authorities?
Not really, but I've seen on social media there are people who come out and then Zimbabweans as usual, they bash them, they abuse them and stuff. And most of those people are in South Africa because they know they cannot be in Zimbabwe.
So they had to move out of the country
Yes.
in order to avoid
Yes, in
travel.
Yeah.
And also in order for them to be free in terms of who they are.
Who they are, yes.
I see. We are not going to give away everything about the book,
Yeah.
but then again, the issue of truck drivers and those ladies who are giving themselves to truck drivers, do you have any personal knowledge of anybody, whether it's family members, friends, or people from the same area that you come from, who actually had to do such?
I don't know anyone specific, but then we always, growing up, I also grew up in Zim at some point. We always heard these stories of how this girl left with this truck driver and then she came back and she was pregnant and all that. So it's those stories that I built up into the book.
Into the book.
Yes.
Yeah, so clever. The way you did it, I really am impressed. And there's also the story of the mother. Her name is Mativenga.
Yes.
She reminds me of my grandmother, my mom's mom, with her ability to say the sensitive truth without giving offense. I actually quote this from the book, that she's characterized as someone who's able to articulate herself in such a way that you won't get offended. In fact, she goes further to sometimes repeat her sentences so that the person that she's talking to can get the message.
Yeah.
That reminds me of my grandmother. I grew up in the village in Lesotho, so I relate to the book. So I was just trying to highlight that as a South African, someone might just think, okay, maybe I won't be able to relate to the
I won't
book.
understand.
Yes,
From Sam. Yeah.
simply because the book says the story happened in Zimbabwe, but I realize we have so much in common. So there's this particular part which is also, I think, an issue in Africa. The issue of religion versus culture, tradition, spirituality,
Yes.
if I can say that.
Yes.
Yes, because there are things happening in the book, there are things happening in the story, and now they are looking for help, and help is coming, but now there's these issues that, do we accept this type of help because we believe in this, or do we accept that type of help because we believe in that? Yes. What inspired this? Is it because of what you experienced in Zim?
It's something that I've experienced around me. We would have me who believes who's more modern, and then someone else who's more spiritual, and then an older family member who's more traditional. And then when we meet, all of our ideas will clash. So we don't know now what to believe. Was the problem in the book spiritual, traditional, or is she just modern? We don't know.
Yeah.
There's this issue, the problem that these characters are facing, and through research, I may say, and correct me if I'm wrong,
Yes.
it is through research, it is through knowledge that they were then able to understand their problem, even though the research happens towards the end after attempting and trying all kinds of things that a lot of us black people, wherever we are, whether it's in the townships, whether it's in the villages, we either have, when you have a problem, you either go first to the medical institutions, and if they fail, you'll then try the sangomas or the other way around, and so on, and it seems the problem was quite big, because I was worried as I was reading. I'm thinking, okay, what's going to happen? And then I realized in the end that through research, through knowledge, they were then able to understand their problem. Therefore, I think then it opened up a situation where they were able then to apply the right methods.
Yes, that is true.
Now, have you ever had an issue like that where you had to struggle so much, applying all kinds of methods, and then in the end did research and then found out, hey man, actually this was not a biggie. It was no biggie. It's normal.
Yes, I've had issues where I struggle and I think maybe this is, I don't know, fate or something, and then through research and actually thinking about things, and then I realized it's normal. There are normal solutions to this.
Is it something you could share?
No.
Okay, so let's say I was an author. Will it be okay if my book maybe doesn't have a happy ending? It's like quite the opposite.
It's okay. A lot of people actually love that tragedy. Like, which book could I base it on? I can't think now, but an example would be the movie Titanic. It's not fiction though, but something like that. A lot of people would love.
Yeah. So you also like spoke of like traveling in terms of like now when you're working, you see. So I was just curious in terms of like what is your first like destination that you're dreaming of?
I would say France.
Why France?
I don't know. It's not too modern, and I'm not against modern stuff, but I just prefer France.
Yeah.
Okay, did somebody recommend it to you, or is
No.
it from what you see that it looks interesting? It's got historical monuments.
It's because of a book that I read that got me interested. Yeah.
Okay.
I'd have to say.
Do you have like a specific? If you landed in France today, where would you go? What's the first thing that you want to see or experience about France?
I want to experience the food, so I would go to any restaurant and then I would just order something for myself. Yes.
So that author really sold France very well. I see. Big ups to you, authors. And you're quite right. The way I like how you describe your characters or introduce your characters at the beginning. It becomes so easy then when you're following the story, because now this one is capable of such and such, this one is this old, and yes, this is expected that they would react this way to such. So, and another thing that was exciting and funny, actually more funny than exciting, is the fact that you call him the spiritualist.
Yes.
There's one funny part which I was discussing with Tony on our way here, that it happens. It happens everywhere. That when he was called by the chief, he had to make sure that wherever he was passing, people were aware that he was taking this direction to the chief, because that somehow, him being there and he's been called for help by the chief would boost his status in the community.
It was all marketing.
So I realized it was, yes, you're quite right. So yeah, reading such and thinking about you and your age, so you can imagine what I was going through and thinking, wow, how do you come up with these ideas? And another thing that you mentioned is that you wrote it together with the advocate.
Yes.
So what I would like to know, when Tony and I have to work on a song, it's either we'll start with the instrumental, I'll put in a melody, and then he puts certain parts, I'll maybe start mumbling words for the chorus, etc. So that now I'm just describing the roles that we would normally play. So I would like to know, when it comes to a book, this book has got 10 chapters.
Yes.
Do you split chapters, or what do you do? Do you write a chapter together? How does it work?
We split chapters because writing together would never work, because he has a certain idea that he wants to add and I have a certain idea that I want to add. So it's best for him to write a chapter, and then once it's done, I carry on with it till a certain point, and then he picks it up again and so forth.
So he has to read what you've written to where you've stopped.
Yes.
He then takes it from there.
And then carries on.
Right. So he will then send you that work, because you are based here. He's based in Cape Town.
Yes.
So this is why I want to know, and it's during the lockdown. So you communicate via emails and whatever platforms online.
Yes.
So you then have to read everything he's written and then take it from there, take it further, vice versa.
Yes, and we always had to discuss everything we've written first, so that I know exactly what he meant and I don't lose him. I don't lose the storyline as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to know the difference in terms of like if you were to write a book alone and compared to like when you're collaborating with someone, isn't it challenging to collaborate with someone compared to writing alone?
It's more challenging to collaborate because you have to accommodate two people's ideas.
Mm-hmm.
So I might have my own ideas and I might not be happy with your ideas. You won't like that. I don't like your ideas. So that will cause a lot of fighting as well.
Yeah.
But then in the end, you just have to know that you have to work together. So the most challenging part was agreeing to one idea.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most challenging part compared to writing on your own. It's your own idea. It's your choice to delete whichever part you want to delete. It's all up to you and no one else.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of you being in an argument with the advocate. I'm sorry. I just had that picture in my head that no, advocate, actually we need to keep this. And he says, no, we don't want to keep that. But hey, you look like a mature young lady, so I'm sure that type of situation, you are able to handle it well. Or is it as I describe it?
Well, it was not that bad.
Okay.
Because he was also mentoring me. I knew, like, at least he knew better because he already had a book published.
Right.
So he would ask me, do you think this will work? And I would say no. And then he says, okay, let's try this. And if it didn't work, then we go back to my idea and so forth. So it didn't really clash too much.
Okay.
So was it like your first collaboration, or you've collaborated with other people before?
It was my very first collaboration.
Oh.
Yes.
Wow. He just dropped us a text, by the way.
Yes.
The advocate Trymore Chiguvare. Advocate Trymore Chiguvare. He says that I want to thank you, Whale Coast FM, for supporting the young talented generation. And as for my co-author, I'm proud of you, little sister Annastencia Kambarami.
Thank you so much.
All right, we'll make sure we screenshot this and show it on the video, because this interview is going on to our podcast,
Ziyakhipha6to8 on YouTube. Yeah.
And we are aware that since there's load shedding, those who are looking forward to it may not be able to listen right now, but they'll definitely catch it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Okay. Another thing I was trying to find out is, we young people, when we're dealing with the older generation, sometimes those relationships don't always work out well, simply because we think we know and they think they know. So what is your advice to anybody who's young when it comes to working with people who are older?
Okay, so people who are older don't think they know. They do know. They know a lot. Like their advice will never lead you astray. You have to listen and keep your knowledge in line. You cannot think that just because you've now visited places and traveled, you now know everything, you now know better than them, or just because you can use a phone and you are more modern, you know everything. They know how to live life properly, and it's always best to listen to them. Like, just humble yourself. Even if you think you're right, you may be right in most situations, but you need to humble yourself and take their advice into consideration.
Yeah. So now that you're at this stage, so now you're not new to the game, I would like to know, like, when it comes to advices, what advice will you give to a person that's about to start working on their new book, the first one?
The advice that I can give is that once you started writing, don't stop. You experience writer's block. Yes, go and reboot, but then carry on until you finish with the book. And then once you have finished, then look for people who can help you to publish the book.
So isn't it like complicated maybe when you're now dealing with the publishers and stuff?
It's not really complicated, especially if you've done research on how to publish. Nowadays, it's easier to publish on Amazon because you can literally just sign yourself up and then publish your book on there. It's much easier. So do research and then just try and do it yourself first.
So tell us more about helping like other like writers in terms of like editing like their work. Maybe let's just say when somebody write like the book and then you have to come through there. Can you tell us more about that?
Okay, so when you write your book, Nate, try to make as little mistakes as possible. It makes it so much easier for the editor to write. And make sure that your storyline is exactly how you want it to be. Because now, if you sound confused in your story, then I'm going to take some parts out and put something else that I think will make sense to me, and then we will have a problem because you knew what you wanted to say, but you were not clear enough, and then I changed it. So try to make as little mistakes as possible. Reread your work every time after writing, and then submit.
So if it's not a problem mentioning, like, are there any like projects where you've like edited works for other authors?
Yes, I've edited 2 of Hope Sithole's books. That's where I started. And then other authors which I cannot mention, which were like small projects that I had to do.
Wow.
Just helping others.
Yeah. So Hope is from like around here?
Yes, he lives in Hermanus. He's a motivational speaker and an author.
Wow.
Shout out to Hope. Shout out to Hope. Take us through the editing process. Someone is curious to know what is it? What does editing entail?
Well, editing entails taking the book and then going through each sentence, each word, and then seeing if it fits. Editing grammar, punctuation, and just making the book look right. And then you have to look at the headings and make sure the chapters are in order and all of that. So
that's why it's important that, like you said, make as less mistakes
as possible.
Which means, like you said earlier on, that comes with a better understanding of the language you're using.
Yes.
How long does it take for one to become an editor?
I don't know. It took me, I would say it took me 1 week for me to actually understand what I had to do. So it depends on how much you've read, how familiar you are with books. So the more familiar you are with books, you can literally edit a book and make it look proper.
And I understand that you and the advocate have established a publishing company, but however, you've put it on hold.
The publishing company is actually with me and Hope Sithole.
Oh, it's my apologies. It's with you and Hope Sithole.
Yes, it's called Author's Haven. Okay. And we've put it on hold for now because I got a little busy, but Hope was still busy with it for a while. Yes. Okay,
so in other words, you're looking forward to editing other people's work?
Yes, I would definitely be doing more of that.
All right. We did have a conversation earlier on, and there's something you're not happy about, but without really giving away the details, for some reason, let's just say your work somehow went to a publishing company and came back. The promise was it was going to be published. Please go on.
So what happened was we submit the book, we wrote the book, and then we submitted it to be edited and printed and stuff. And then a stage was skipped. I don't know if they skipped it or it was just that they were not skilled enough. I don't know. But the editing was a bit off. And I was really not happy with that because that sort of messes with the book a bit.
Because then the responsibility lies on you as the author.
And now,
yeah, that has happened also a few years ago. One of the famous celebrities, Bonang Mateba, wrote a book, and readers found out that in one of the pages there were grammar errors. And as you know, we South Africans, there is something special called Black Twitter. And someone then took a screenshot of the pages and made some corrections with the red pen, and it was a bit of a big story. So that type of thing happens because sometimes publishers make such mistakes.
Yes.
I see.
Because I won't lie, no author is going to submit a grammar perfect book. It's the job of the editor and the publishing company to make sure that everything is perfect.
With us in music, it's the job of the mixing engineer, who then has to make sure that everything is in order after the recordings and all of that is done. So once the song sounds bad, then because we don't know the mixing engineer, then we blame the artist.
We blame the artist, yes.
Yeah. So it makes sense. So all rappers out there can relate. You are not the only ones. Oh yes. There's one thing I wanted to ask. Where is it now? Ish, it just slipped now. It slipped. However, you are on social media.
Yes, I am on Facebook. My handles are Annah Kays. It's Anna with an H and K with K8YS.
Okay. We'll also make sure we put those details in the video.
I'm not man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anna, what are your last words? Is there anything that you feel that we left out?
Not really. We have covered everything.
Okay. And what is your message to somebody who doesn't know about your book? You know, someone who's curious but unsure, you know, whether to buy your book. What would you like to say to that person? You can look into the camera and say that.
So the book has a lot of stories in it. It's packed with stories and different scenarios of things that the younger generation are going through and how the older generation are trying to solve these problems that we're going through. So you need to get the book, read it, and then tell us what you if you think the younger generation is right or the ways of the older generation are correct.
All right. Thank you so much for coming through and honoring this appointment.
Thank you.
It has happened before that we've had, you know, such appointments and then people not honoring. So thank you so much for doing that. You are a very lovely young lady with some manners. And I think that type of attitude is going to take you far. You know, it's not just your talent, but it's the way that you carry yourself that is going to take you far. So from what I've experienced, you are very humble and very smart.
Thank you so much.
So shout out to your parents for raising you and you know, making sure that they protect you at all times. And shout out to your siblings as well. Hey, brothers, you gotta look after Anna. Please look after her. Yeah. You're giving us a bad name out here.
Maybe they're giving her a story, you may never know. Maybe the last book is going to be about the brothers, you may never know.
I'm definitely going to write about them because you
see.
Yeah.
Okay, so should we say keep on inspiring Anna? Okay, Anna, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure having you here. And we're hoping that your book will do very well. Is it available in any stores close by?
Not at the moment. You can only get a copy from me or from Advocate Trymore Chiguvare in Cape Town.
Okay. And people who want to make contact with you, then they'll go through your social media. We're going to put those handles out. But for the sake of the listeners, can you repeat your Facebook names?
It's Annah Kays, Anna with an H, and Kays, Kays.
Okay. I believe there's a double N there.
So yes, there's a double N as well.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. And do you still remember your Instagram handle? Not? Okay. We're going to try and look for it. When we find it, we will send it to you. We will send it to you. Yes, but Nana, no Anna, Annah Kays, ubhale incwadi kuthiwa ngo All Tears No Answers. Incwadi emnandi kakhulu sifundile ine chapter ezi10. Uneminyaka nje 820, ungumuntu wesifazana and ubhale lencwadi together with omnye utata we advocate utata Trymore Chiguvare. Lencwadi ndiyakuxelela whether ngumuntu walapha eMzantsi or not uzakwazi urelate kuyo because ikhona issue ekhoyo apha kwezi characters and lo issue abantu abadala bayilandela bazamuza nesisombululo ngeyabo indlela but then in the end young people emveni koba benze research then they find out ukuthi i-issue lena yintoni and they manage ukuthi bayi sort out.